What's going on, guys? Bexio back, and today we got a brand new video with Bitcoin because over the past couple of days, it's made pretty good moves up, had in a pretty big little rally here off of the Fed news that the entire market loved, that it got 75 basis point hikes instead of the 100 basis point, and there's just more risk on taking in the market now. And even if you don't want to admit it, there's some sort of correlation between Bitcoin and the market just because it's gotten so big and there's bigger players in now that are looking at macros, that are looking at the stock market and looking at everything and deciding when to go risk on and put money into something like Bitcoin or risk off, which they're going to take money out of Bitcoin. It just became big players who have a lot of money who are involved in this space now. So there's going to be at least a little bit of correlation there between the two. But here we can see Bitcoin's chart at just under $24,000. That's a pretty big, important price target that you're going to see later. But right now, we kind of had this obviously dramatic fall. We've been hovering around 20,000 for a long time. Got this new channel that we've been trading in for a while, and we've been trying to break out last weekish, a couple weeks ago, and failed that. Came back down to around 20K, and then the massive rally here in the last 3 days, where we actually broke out of the top line of this channel. So the question is, we're going to be looking at this to see a full candle above this top line. So right now, you can see last time we didn't even get that again. We got the break. We got it a big move up, but it also a big move down the same day. So not a full candle above and ended up falling back down. This time we have another big move up. If we can sustain this level and try and at least lock in one or two candles above this line, I think it'll be much better, much stronger case to kind of continue this rally up to maybe the 28,000 level, maybe 28.6 here, and try and get to that level here. So right now, we look at the overall stock market too, very green. This is after a massively green day. There's not a lot of red in here, so the things that are red are kind of the mining companies for Bitcoin, a little bit in trouble. Robinhood's red, Didi, the Alibaba, so Chinese companies. So really, nothing's red that actually is, like a big company, something like Apple, Amazon. They had great earnings. They came out. Snapchat's even green. Walmart, these things. So there's a lot of green in the stock market, which is going to flood over to Bitcoin when the market's feeling good, and when investors there are feeling a little bit more risk on, they're going to put money into Bitcoin because they're going to see Bitcoin as it's going to go up more than something like the Nasdaq. If the Nasdaq goes up 5%, then Bitcoin's probably going to go up 10, 15%. And the same inversely. If the NASDAQ goes down 5%, Bitcoin could go down 10, 15%. But just looking at this chart right here, we will be looking for closes above this line. So around the $24,000 mark for the next couple of days, trying to continue this move up. We're heading in the weekend, so who knows, with Bitcoin could get a little volatile here, but we want to see it close above and continue its track up, trying to get to this 28K level. And the $24,000 level is massively important for Bitcoin for this reason right here. It's the 200 weekly moving average. If you go back in time for Bitcoin, even if you go back even longer than this only goes to 2019, but every time that Bitcoin has been around this area, it's been a very good buying opportunity, where you see 2019 came down to the 200 week moving average. Would have been a great time to buy. You look back, it came off into a rally, came back down again to the 200 week moving average, and would have been a great time to buy. This was 2020, and a massive run up to the $69,000 here, coming back down to the 200 weekly moving average again for a few days here. Now we're just climbing back above it, and now we could be at that point where we're going to look back and say this would have been a great buying opportunity if Bitcoin flies higher, just like it has in the past. So we've seen it time and time again. The 200 week is something that marks usually really good buying opportunities. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll see how the time goes. But right now, for the overall markets, it looks like a little bit more risk on, which is good for Bitcoin. That's going to be money flowing into Bitcoin from people with lots of money. And things are just going to be looking a little bit better for Bitcoin. And it does seem, if we do go back to the chart, that we really bottomed. It looks like maybe we hit that bottom where we had the massive crash. trying to go sideways here before another massive crash. And then we really went sideways where went down to 17.5, came up kind of just, really just sitting in this 20K, 19K level for a long time. And while doing that, establishing higher lows, higher highs, and moving upwards. And it feels like it could be a bottom where 17K was the bottom. And then moving up from here, everything's getting a little bit better. The overall market's looking a little bit better, and the Fed maybe not being so aggressive is a good sign for the market too. And something that's kind of funny that is pointed out here is that it's truly poetic that the short Bitcoin ETF landed within 3 days of the bottom. So there was a short Bitcoin ETF that launched. BITI is the ticker for it. He talks about it right here. This was basically where the tweet was when it launched, and then you go forward for a week about, and then the bottoms in, and we start moving upwards. So it always seems to work out that way, where some product comes out that marks the tops or marks the bottom. The top for Bitcoin was when Coinbase IPO'd. That was like top hype in the market. A lot of people excited about all this stuff, and it actually might have marked the top where we started coming down, and now we have where it's already been down pretty big. The short coming out, and people might be looking like they could short Bitcoin, and it's actually the opposite where now we start moving up. Only makes sense that that's going to happen. And looking at Bitcoin mining, we also have just a basically straight line up. We've had a little bit of moves down recently from this previous all-time high of 231. That's because miners are forced to turn off some of their mining to save money, sell their miners to make a little bit of money to try and make it through this time period of like a bear market, get to the other side and still be in business. That's the main goal here. Get to the other side, stay in business, make sure you can keep going forward. So they unplug miners, they sell miners, they try and do all this stuff because when things are going great, they put in orders to buy a bunch of miners. They get those miners and they can't use them because they're going to be losing money mining Bitcoin. So they end up selling them or selling their old miners or selling some Bitcoin to try and stay in business, try and get to the other side. So that's what we're kind of seeing here. 231 down to where we're at right now, 207. So it's not a massive move. It's not something, crazy going on, but it's to point out just kind of what happens with miners. And we saw lots of miners selling Bitcoin in the past recently, selling lots of their Bitcoin on their balance sheet. And usually that marks kind of the bottom for Bitcoin too. When miners are forced to capitulate, forced to sell, usually marks kind of the max sellers are getting out of the market. There's only so much sellers you can have. Once you're out of sellers, there's just a constant kind of move up instead where people are stacking Bitcoin, stacking sats, and they're not going to be selling. So once you run out of sellers and you only got buyers, price moves up. We also have long and short data. Longs over 100,000 long, which is kind of crazy. 105,000, 2,000 short. So, this seems to be a level that shorts are sitting at, 2,000. Longs, we know, exploded in the past here. We can kind of see them going a little sideways here. Shorts falling off for the 24 hours. But if you zoom out more, you'll see the explosion down in longs. We see it from 107 to 104, 105 we're at now. And the shorts are actually climbing a little bit higher. But we did have that massive explosion in longs that we saw when Bitcoin was around 19K. So these longs would probably be in pretty good profit. Maybe they start selling and put downward pressure on the market. Don't really know though. It seems like the explosion in longs was from people maybe with high conviction trying to time the bottom, make a lot of money. And maybe they did that. And just to end this off, we know El Salvador, the first country to kind of go all in Bitcoin. Their finance minister said we will announce more Bitcoin related projects in the coming months. Bitcoin has been great for El Salvador, even though people point at it and say they lost money on putting Bitcoin in their balance sheet. It's down. Oh my God, it's the worst thing ever. But their tourism is up. They made tons of money off tourism, and they're still launching their Bitcoin bond. I think there was news recently about them getting back on track with that, trying to get that down and launch that. So we'll see what happens with El Salvador, but it looks like Bitcoin's having a positive impact on them, and that's great for Bitcoin as the rest of the world and other countries that might be a little bit smaller, like El Salvador, come out and maybe come in positive contact with Bitcoin and want to use it to help their own country. So, all in all, Bitcoin looking pretty good, especially over the past couple of days. A nice little rally to 24K. Seeing if we can sustain that would be great. And keeping our move up to the next level, 28K, to see if we can actually get there, see how it interacts there. But adoption keeps moving forward. Everything with Bitcoin keeps happening regardless of the price. Short term moves don't really mean anything. It's all about the long term, and long term, Bitcoin still looks good. That's gonna do it for this video, guys. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe on the road to 1,000 subscribers. And I'll see you guys in my next video.